morning, everybody. My name is George Poole, the Commander of the United Veterans Council. We'd like to welcome you here to the first burial ground for the rededication. Today we have John Sawyer from the Cemetery Commission here today. Of course, Mayor Scott Gilgun is here. I've done that before, Scott. Mayor Galvin, and also Kathy Lucero from the Historical Society. A lot of work was put into the work, as you can see. At this time, I am going to turn the microphone over to Mayor Scott Galvin. Mayor Galvin. Thanks, Larry.
So welcome everybody for this beautiful dedication. I'm pleased to be here today to the first burial ground dedication. To have all these people here on Memorial Day, it's quite a tribute. And I'm going to be very brief because I know we have a long day and everybody's excited to get going. But first of all, I'd like to thank the City Council for their support of this project. This wouldn't have happened without your support. I want to thank you all for supporting the Cemetery Commission in their request to have this done. I know many of you have seen this in the past, and to see it now and what it looked like just a couple weeks ago was an amazing transformation. And a couple people really need a lot of credit for this, and one of them, of course, is Kathy Lucero. This has been a labor of love for hers for quite some time, and the work that Kathy put in, along with other members of the Historical Society, has been not just here but throughout the city. I think we'd all have to agree is remarkable, and has really shed a light on the rich history that the city of Woburn has, Kathy, and you've done a great job, and we really appreciate what you've done. Also, I'd like to thank John Sawyer and all the members of the Cemetery Commission, too. John's been on the Cemetery Commission for quite a while, and he's been a great steward of not only this, but Woodbrook and Calvary and the cemeteries, the first and second burial ground. John, you do a great job, and all the members of the Cemetery Commission as well, so I want to thank you for that. And lastly, before I turn the mic over to John, I'd like to thank the gentleman from the DPW.
Absolutely.
Under the leadership of Jay Duran, and particularly Lenny Burnham, who's led a great crew down here. And you see him over here, we got Johnny Landine, hell of a craftsman, John. You did a great job. Sean Cahill and all the other members, this is all their work, and they did it in less than a week. Great job, guys. Thank you for what you do. So with that being said, I'm going to turn the microphone over to John Sawyer. Go ahead, John.
I want to thank everybody for being here today. I'd like to first of all thank the mayor as well. I'd like to thank Mayor Galvin as well as the City Council for the support of this project. Kathy Lucero really took this project and made it her own, and her dedication and commitment is amazing. She has the ability to get volunteers from every part of our community. It's very impressive, Kathy. Very impressive. I'd also like to thank the DPW crew. What they did in such short notice, Sean Cahill, John Landine, Lenny Burnham, and all the members of the DPW, great asset to our community. I'd also like to thank other members of the City Hall, Greg Riome and the engineering department, and all of the gentlemen down there. They were a huge asset to us, mapping out these unmarked graves. Truly amazing job they did for us. This burial ground is part of our history. We are all pleased to have that it is protected and preserved for future generations. Thank you all for coming, and I'll turn this over to Kathy.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for coming out this morning. It's cold, but it's beautiful to me. The cemetery is quite beautiful to me, and I'm hoping that you all appreciate it after today's ceremony and walk through. I'd like to have a few remarks about the cemetery to kind of fill you all in. I do want to thank Mayor Scott Galvin and for the Cemetery Commission and for the DPW. It has been a wonderfully it really has been a community team effort, and what teamwork does, seriously, you can pull off a project like this, which generations before us have tried to do. So we're very pleased on the 375th. I would like to thank Pat Hughes. I don't know if she's here in the crowd. She's a member of the Historical Society. She has worked hours and hours with me on the computer and here at the burial ground, and I'm very grateful to have such a dear friend and such committed people, other than myself, because I'm crazy, which most people know. I only have one speed, and it's forward, so that works against me sometimes. But these folks from the Historical Society are just wonderful, and I really want to thank them all for helping me. It is appropriate as... Oh, thank you. It is appropriate as we celebrate the 375th anniversary of the city that we are paying tribute to its oldest treasure, the first burial ground. This ancient outdoor museum is one of the oldest in the Commonwealth and holds the remains of our founding citizens. The 1.6-acre burial ground was established by the first parish in 1642, and the church would be the administrators for both the first and second burial grounds until 1846, when the town would purchase both for $162.50. The first burial ground would close in 1794. It's cold out, sorry. Excuse me just for a second, thank you. It's from being out here with the graves, I think. Among the distinguished dead are Woburn's first 4 ministers, military heroes, and colonial descendants of 8 United States presidents: Franklin Pierce, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Grover Cleveland, Benjamin Harrison, George Herbert Walker Bush, and George Walker Bush. No podium. The Historical Society documented 249 remaining gravestones. The oldest stone is from 1690. In 1849, there was an encroachment of the cemetery by the town when they decided to put a pound in along the wall down in the front. When doing so, the remains of several bodies were exposed. They were reinterred somewhere in the cemetery. It is believed the earliest founders were buried in that location. With the help of Mayor Scott Galvin supporting the ground-penetrating radar project in June of 2016, the location of 430 unmarked graves were found. All of these white flags you see represent a burial of one of Woburn's earliest citizens. In this walkway, as you look, John Lundeen did a magnificent job, and every time you see a colored stone, those are burials underneath here. This is why it was ripped up, the asphalt that was there. This is much more of a memorial type of presentation, I believe. In the second burial ground, we also did ground-penetrating radar, and there are 198 unmarked burials in the second burial ground. There are 15 Revolutionary War soldiers buried here. Daniel Thompson, the first soldier killed in the Revolutionary War on April 19, 1775, as well as the first civilian, Ashel Porter, a non-combatant, who was captured by the British on that day, released, but when he was sent home, he ran actually, and they shot him in the back. They were buried together 2 days later here at the burial ground. The largest family grouping in this cemetery is the Richardsons, with over 50 remaining stones. The Baldwin family is represented with the obelisk at the top of the hill. That is a tomb that holds between 13 and 15 Baldwins, including the original founders and signers, Henry Baldwin of the town orders. It was erected, this obelisk, in 1810 when Colonel Loammi Baldwin died in 1807. Colonel Baldwin would lead 265 Woburn men to the Battle of Lexington and Concord on April 19, 1775. He would later serve on General Washington's staff. He would cross the Delaware with General Washington along with other Woburn men in December of 1776. During this period of the 17th century, Woburn did have slaves or servants for life. They would be part of the first parish, and it is likely they are also buried here, but it was not common for them to be buried among the main body. What you see at the top of by the fence at the very top by the obelisk, about approximately 16 markers. Those are probably where our slaves or our servants for life would be interred. The burial ground is not a playground, a shortcut, or a place for dogs to roam. It is Woburn's oldest treasure, and it should be treated as such, and so it will be here for another 375 years. Every stone tells a story, and as you walk through this hallowed ground, it tells the story of Woburn. Thank you. sorry.
No, I'll.
I think the band's gonna play some. They are, yeah, I think they- Before we leave, I just wanted to explain the sign for anyone who does genealogical research. This sign holds the names of the 249 stones that we can identify. And if you are looking for your genealogical research, there, as you can see, all the Wymans and Richardsons, the number to the indication on the left indicates their military service, whether it's the militia, King Philip's War, the French, the Quebec expedition, the French and Indian Wars, or the Revolutionary War. And the number beside it, it correlates to the map that's on the other side, and that will show you the placement of where the stone is in the cemetery. The red circles indicate all of these white flags, all unmarked graves. So I hope that you come and take a moment and walk and see the cemetery and look at the stones, because we have so many magnificent stones. 12 Lamson stones are here. Joseph Lamson was one of the finest carvers in Charlestown in colonial period, and we are blessed to have at least 12 here. So thank you, and happy Memorial Day. We'll see you on the comment. Thank you.